Okay, we do have a lot to cover, so I'm just going to go ahead and start now. My name is Jeff Batt, and I am a product trainer here at Rapid Intake, and today's webinar is about 16 free tools to create media for e-learning. And it's a helpful webinar that I've found, as I've done at conferences as well, that people enjoy coming to this because there's a lot of different tools that you can use in order to help you create media for your e-learning tools. Now, I'm not going to be going over any e-learning course creation tools. We do sell those here at Rapid Intake, and I'll show you a little bit of that, but the main focus is to actually talk about creating content for your e-learning tools. So a lot of times we buy e-learning tools and the e-learning tools are great, but they don't actually create media. They don't actually create images or allow you to edit images or create videos or allow you to create, some do audio, but not as robust as you can do with other tools. And so amongst teaching our software to many different corporations, I've found a lot of free tools that actually allow you to do a lot of what you need to do in order to get your media ready, in order to create some images, in order to create some videos without having to spend a lot on different media creation tools just on that. And so if you're on a tight budget, if you don't have very much expenses coming in or anything like that, well, there's a lot of opportunities or a lot of tools that I've found that will help you with that. So hopefully some of these tools you may have already heard of, you may have already played with, or you may already have, or even be an expert on. I'm not going over every single tool in detail, so hopefully you'll catch a few tools that that you may be able to play around with, but we are going to just briefly, 16 tools within an hour is a lot to cover. So we're going to briefly cover some of these tools, how to get it started, and what they can do, and then basically you can take it from there on learning on your own or going to their websites. But I'll tell you where they're at. I'll tell you how to download them, and also you can. This webinar is being recorded, so you can refer back to it later if needed as well. Okay, the way that this works is I can't actually hear you, so if you have any questions, feel free to type them in the question and answer area in your GoToMeeting panel. I doubt that we'll have a lot of time to answer questions because, again, we're covering a lot of tools within a short amount of time. But I will try to answer questions or just monitor that in case my audio goes out or something like that. So just if you need to type anything in there, I'll go ahead and take a look at that when I can. But don't hesitate to ask a question just in case I can get to it while we're going through this. Okay, so let's go ahead and, like I mentioned, we have a lot to cover, so let's go ahead and just get started here. Okay. Just make sure that we're going here. So the session objectives is we're going to be talking about, like I mentioned already a little bit, we're going to be talking about 16 different free tools. And some of these tools come from the same makers, and I'll talk to you about how to get to them, how to download them, or how to access them from online. I'm going to be showing you both online tools, desktop for PC, and desktop for Mac tools as well. And I'll specifically tell you which ones are which, and how to access them and how to download them. And I'll show you a brief demo of each of them. Again, I'm not going to get into a lot of detail at all. I'll just show you how to get it started, what they do, what the tools do, and that's pretty much it. Now, we'll also talk about some of the other possible solutions. If we get time, I usually leave this towards the end, but if we get time, we'll talk about other solutions for capturing media that are not free, but they are at a good price. And I mean like video cameras or stands or lighting or stuff like that. There's some good solutions that are not free, but they're a lot cheaper than what you can find just as a standard there or a regular one. Okay. One question that just popped up now is there a handout? There's going to be this PowerPoint that I'm going to be going over that you can download later as well. So let's see what tools we are actually talking about. Now, like I mentioned before, a lot of the times you have an e-learning authoring tool already. Now, the e-learning authoring tool does SCORM output, which is great. None of these tools that I'm going to show you do SCORM output. So there still is a purpose for an e-learning tool. For example, Rapid Intake has an online tool called Unison that you log in and you start building your courses online. And I'll just show you this really quickly just so we get the concept before I get into the free tools here. And so you're going in and you're building the courses, you're building the structure, you're building the quizzes and everything like that. However, Rapid Intake does not have a way, and a lot of other e-learning authoring tools does not have a way to create images or to actually resize videos, or to convert videos. Actually, it does convert videos, but it doesn't have a way to edit videos and also to create other custom Flash animations. You may need to do that outside of authoring tools like Rapid Intake, and that's what I'm going to show you today, is the tools that will actually help you build your own image, or actually create your own vector image, or create your own video, edit your video, and then upload your video, or create your own audio as well. And so, again, that's the purpose of our tools. That's the purpose of the free tools that we'll be going over here. One question is, are we still on the title slide? No, we're not. We are on the what tools we'll be going over. We'll talk about, and it does say play, so if you still can't see it, let me know. But we're going to talk about different sections. We're going to talk about video production, we're going to talk about audio production, we're going to talk about Flash animation production as well. And then if we have time, towards the end, I have some HTML5 tools as well that I want to show you and just introduce you to as well. So if you're thinking about mobile and you want to get into the mobile environment, if you want to create HTML5 animations, we'll go over 2 different tools that allow you to do that. So video production, the first tool that I want to go over, and there may be other tools, feel free to share those with other people if needed. But one tool that I like is an online tool, a video editor, online video editor called JayCut. Now, I haven't come across an online video editor besides this one. There may be other ones, but this is an awesome online editor that you can go to from your browser. So from Firefox, from Safari, or whatever, you can access it from the browser and start editing your videos right on the browser. So that means you can go home on a different computer and start or continue working on the same video that you were working with at work or something. And so let's go ahead and take a look at that a little bit. So I'm going to switch over to my browser here, and I'm just going to type in JayCut.com. Now, JayCut.com was recently purchased by Research in Motion, which is BlackBerry, but it still allows you to create videos for free, but they're also integrating it with their tablets and some of their phones as well. But the first thing I do is I go ahead and I log in, or I create an account. That way you can remember me and I can log in and continue working on my videos in other locations. Once I've logged in, then I can click on this Create Movie. As soon as I click on Create Movie, it will then take me to the actual authoring, or the video editor. Now the video editor here, you can see it has your basic video editing like you can do in other video editing tools as well. We have your timeline down at the bottom. You have audio tracks down at the bottom as well. You also have your video playback on the side, and then you have your media up on the top here. Now in the media we have videos, we have images, we have audio files that you can upload. We also have transitions, and then text, the different text that you can actually insert or overlay on top of your video. So I've already uploaded some video, but if you need to upload some video, the first thing you do is click on this Add Media on the right hand side. Now, I can go into, the nice thing about JayCut is there's this maximize button that will actually take me into full screen. So it looks like I'm actually working in a full screen video editor instead of a browser. So if you want to see the entire, this way I have a bigger preview of my video. So if I want to see a bigger video or a bigger preview of that, I can go ahead and go into full screen and then just click the same button to go back into regular screen as well. One question that came up is what file size limit is there, and I haven't come across a limit with JayCut yet. There may be one, but I haven't come across one. So the only thing I do from here is I go ahead and drag my video onto the track, and I have a video A and I have a video B track as well. So I'll grab 2 different videos, one at the top and one at the bottom, and I can move them how I want. I can also adjust the sides if I want to make them shorter, or if I want to cut them off at a certain point as well. I also have my cut button that if I move my track here somewhere, I can go ahead and cut just by selecting my mouse wherever I want it. I can cut that track, and then I can move if I want to edit that, I can either delete it or I can move it a little bit farther down the road if I wanted to do that as well. So it's got your simple editing capabilities that you can do. You can also add transitions, like a simple dissolve. Let's go ahead and drag it on the transitions layer. And all I have to do is drag it below below the first track and then above the second track, and it will automatically snap for the length of that transition. Now if I want to make that transition a little bit smaller, then I can just grab it and move it over as well. So you can add other types of transitions. Normally for professional video, I stick with the dissolve or a straight cut. A lot of this other stuff looks more like a family home video. So a lot of the times for professional stuff, either stick with the dissolve or the cuts, and that's more of a preference in my opinion there. Okay, so the nice thing about that is you can also narrate this video. So you have this video, and I can go ahead and scrub it back and forth to see what it looks like. I can hit play to see what it looks like as well. But I can add some narration. So you can add your voice right into this video right here. So if I click on this narration, it's going to add or it's going to pull up with add media. You can go ahead and give it a name, sample audio. And then you select your microphone. Right now I have this Microsoft Live Chat 3000 microphone that I have plugged in here. And that's just a simple like $40 microphone that I bought at Best Buy, and it works great. Has a great noise reduction as well, so it sounds great. And then I can hit next. You do have to allow your flash player settings, but now you can adjust it here. And then I can hit record. As soon as I hit record, it's going to take a second to buffer or two, but then I can go ahead and start recording. And then once I hit stop, I can now do a retake, or I can insert that inside of my, if I save it, I can insert it inside of my audio over here and then bring it inside of my, my track. Now you can also insert your own audio that you've made somewhere else, but this allows you to, without having to go to a different audio tool, allows you to do that as well. You can also do a webcam, and then you can also do a couple other effects. If I click on the settings here, I can go through the different effects, audio effects, fade in, fade out. I can also go into chroma key, adjust the brightness, adjust the hue, adjust the saturation as well. So it has a lot of capabilities for being free, and it's online, so again you can access it from anywhere. So that is the first tool that I actually wanted to go over. Let me quickly look through some of these. Okay, so one question that came up, and I'm glad I looked through that, was how to get it to your own, how to like download it or how to publish it. Well, there's a button down at the bottom that says Publish Download Movie. And Publish Download Movie will then pop up with this little menu. You select what language you want first, and then you can select mobile device, computer, or on the web as well. And so if you select computer, select mobile, and hit next, it then allows you to select what type of codec or what type of format do you want it in. It does produce H.264. If I did the computer, it would produce a MOV as well, so if you're familiar with the different codecs. And so you select which one you want, hit next, and then you can download. It'll send you an email once it's ready with the link to download it, and then you can download that as well. One question is, does it play nicely with Articulate Presenter? I've never actually done that, but if you have, if Articulate does take QuickTime or does take H.264, there shouldn't be any problem with that. It's just like if you were to produce it in any other video editor. So, all right, let's skip back to the slides here. Let's go over our next authoring tool. Again, we've got to keep moving here. There's a lot more questions, but I'm going to go ahead and keep moving on. Video Spin is a free desktop video editor from Pinnacle. Now, Pinnacle does make a tool or a video editor that does cost, and it's a fairly nice one. But they offer this Video Spin that actually, it's not as robust as your other ones, but it still does the job, and it's still a nice tool, and it's a desktop tool, so you don't have to worry about online or work with online or anything like that. So you go to videospin.com to actually download it, and then once you download it, let's go ahead and skip over. It is Windows only, so If you are a Mac user, you can run it in Parallels, but if you're not a Mac, or if you don't have Parallels, then you won't be able to use this one. JayCut might be the best for you. Now, video spin there's a couple things that I don't like about it. The first thing is I can't really stretch it out, so it's actually stuck with this size that I have, so I can't make it go into full screen or anything like that. Also with the preview, it's a very small preview, and so there's a couple things like that that are not the best, but there's still, again, a free video editor tool that's still pretty decent for what you're wanting to do. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to click on this browse icon, and this browse icon is just this folder, and what happens is you then find your video on your desktop, or like some footage that you've actually captured somewhere from your computer or from your camera or something like that, and then you go ahead and select that video and then hit open. As soon as you hit open, it then imports your media right here into this bin. You can then drag that media down to the bottom, and it adds it to your timeline. Now, once I have it on my timeline, I can move my timer over here, and I can also do some simple editing, cuts. If I select over here, it's really hard to see, but if this button right next to the trash, the delete, is actually the cut. So you move your timer over to where you want it to cut, and then you hit the cut button. Now, I'm not seeing any preview right now because it does take a second to actually render before you can actually see a preview, but because of the amount of time that we have, I'm just going to go ahead and continue without it rendering fully there. And now I can come in and I can add some transitions. Now the same transitions that exist inside of JayCut are here as well. You got your fade in, fade out. So I can go ahead and just drag those down to where I want it to fade in. I can also transition the swipe, move, left, whatever you want it to do there. I can also add some text. If I drag that down to the text layer, you can see that there's a T here. I can insert some text. Now, this does have a nice text editor, so if you wanted to do a lot of different like overlays or have logos or different things, the nice thing is if I double click on that, it'll actually take me in, or if I double click on it, it will add it here, and then if I double click down at the timeline, it will actually take me into the text editor. So now I can see what the background video looks like, and I can change colors. I can add my own custom colors as well. Look at my favorites, so you can save your favorites here. But there's a lot of different varieties of different text that you can insert. I can just double click here, change, and then close it when I'm done, and that will automatically change my my title there, so now I can insert my title. I can come down and I can do the same thing with images. If I want to just have a bunch of images play in the video, I can go to the photo section and then just bring in some images and play those inside of the timeline as well. Same thing with audio. You can come down to the little music note down here, and then also the nice thing about these or about video spin is they have a lot of sound effects, and sound effects are sometimes hard to come across, but if the tool itself has a lot of free ones, it's worth using. So you can have a lot of you can see that if I go into animals here, I have barks, birds, cats, chickens, cows, a lot of different things that I can choose from. And then once I'm done with this, all I have to do is click on the Make Movie tab. If I click on Make Movie, then it allows me to select if I want it to be a file or go to the web. If I select web, I can select if I wanted to upload it straight to YouTube from here, or file actually allows me to take it to like a QuickTime video, or allows me to take to like an Aviary video, and then you can convert it from there. Okay, and then that's what we'll talk about next, is actually how to convert the video. Because you may have authoring or video editors that don't actually export to the types of video that you need. A lot of authoring tools like Captivate, for example, or Proform, our desktop tool, you actually have to have it inside of an FLV or the video in an FLV format before you can actually use it. Well, the question is, how do I get it into a FLV format? And so that brings us into our next tool. But before I do that, let me just quickly take a look through the questions. I do have some questions about not being able to access JayCut. I was able to access JayCut myself. Because of the change, there may be something there that you may need to contact JayCut. But you would have to take a look at them as well. And one question that did pop up is, can JayCut do still images as well? Yes, there's a spot for still images that you can do inside of JayCut. Okay, So let's say we have this video now. We've produced our video. The next thing I want to do is I want to talk about how to actually convert it into the right format or into different formats like mobile formats. How do I convert my video into mobile formats? I get that question a lot when I'm actually doing training. So the best video conversion tool that allows you to batch convert, which means convert all at one time many different videos, is something called Any Video Converter. So again, it's a weird name, but it's Any Video Converter, which is a free desktop video converter. Now, if you go to any-video-converter.com, you can get to it from there, but there's also /products/for_video_free, and that will take you to it. Now, Any Video Converter has both a Windows version and a Mac version. It's a desktop application, and it's both a Windows version and a Mac version. I'm going to quickly show you both of those and show you how they differ a little bit between them. So let's go ahead and skip over to the Windows side, and I already have Any Video Converter open. And this is a great tool. I've been using this tool a lot. I love it, and so that's why I wanted to share a little bit of it here. So on the my desktop, I have this sample video, so I'm just going to click Open. Now I can bring in as many videos as I want, and I can check them all, or I can check certain ones, and then I can change the settings for certain ones, and then change the settings for other ones, and then hit Convert. And that means I can walk away and not have to worry about it or continue working on something else. When I come back, all my videos will be converted over. Now you have different formats that you can choose from. If I select the drop-down box, you can see I can choose from the FLV format. I can also convert my video over to SWIFTs. You do run into some trouble with that because it does loop sometimes, so be careful with that. Or you can convert it over to AVI files, WMV files, MPEG files for mobile, and then MPEG 4, sorry, is the best one for mobile. You can convert those over as needed there. Now you can see that I changed to FLV here. Now I can come down and I can see my settings. Now it does allow me to actually, if I wanted to only take like if I didn't want to take the first couple seconds of each video when it converts, then I can adjust the start time to be a certain time, so that way it doesn't actually take the first seconds. It only takes after that. And then I can come down to video options. Now video options allows me to change or to adjust the size of the video. That's a huge question that I get, and this is the reason why I'm spending some time on this. Is a lot of people ask, how do I change the size of my video? With Unison, our online tool, you can upload the video and it will convert it automatically to FLV. However, you don't have as much ability to actually change the size of that. So this is what we recommend, to actually being able to change the size of the video so you get it exactly the size you want, and then you can upload it to Unison, our online authoring tool. So if I go ahead, I can select the drop-down box and I can change the size of the video as needed. The other thing I can change is the video bitrate. Now the video bitrate is the #1 thing that you can do to make your video play faster online. Now there's a couple other things that you can do. If you're a video expert, you may know a lot more than me, myself. But the thing that I've found as far as being able to take the video, not lose a lot of quality, you'll lose a little bit, but making the video play faster and making it a smaller size, is adjusting the bitrate. A lot of the times when we take it into a conversion tool, we don't even think about the bitrate, and so therefore the bitrate's like at 1,000 or something like that, and that makes your video so it doesn't load as quickly as it would if you lowered the bitrate. Now again, you're not going to adjust a lot of quality unless you get really low in the bitrate, but you will see slight differences if you're really picky about it. But for the most part, if you take the bitrate down, it will actually make your video load a lot faster in whatever authoring tool that you may have. And so that's, again, the #1 thing that you can do. I normally suggest to, if you can, get the bitrate around 300 something. Or 500 if you're losing a lot of quality. Anything beyond 500 I would really struggle to recommend, but there may be some cases that you want that. You can adjust the audio codecs if you want, and maybe lower the quality of your audio a little bit, and that's pretty much it. So you go ahead and adjust the different settings, and then you hit convert. Once you're done, you'll have the video there that you can then upload to your authoring tool, and then you can start using inside of your authoring tool there. Now, the Mac version that I want to show you real quick, let me go ahead and pull that up. It's the same tool, just a little bit different user interface. So the first thing I do is I click on this Add Files here. I go ahead and find my files. So there's my sample video. Now I can then convert it into the different formats just like I can with the Windows side. So I can change it to Flash, SWF. I can change it to FLV. I can change it to MPEG-4 just like I can for other mobile devices, or just like I can on the Windows side. And then I can also change, if I come to the video tab here, can change the size just like I was talking about before, the bit rate, the frame rate. So it's the same thing but just a little bit different user interface, just laid out a little bit different. And then from here all I have to do is hit the encode button and then it will start encoding it, and I can have as many videos as I want converting as well. Okay, so that's video conversion. Let me go ahead and just take a look at the questions real quick. One question is, can the Any Video Converter convert audio? I have never actually tried the audio, but actually, yeah, I can't guarantee that it would right at this moment. Yeah, another question is, can I do the same thing instead of cutting off the first part, can I cut off the last part, like the last second? Yeah, on that you can just adjust the end time as well as you can with the intro time as well. Okay, so that is Any Video Converter. Let's go ahead and move on. Let me just take a look at the time real quick, just to make sure we're making good time. Okay. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. The next topic that I want to talk about is audio production. Now, one of the main tools that a lot of people I found have heard of is Audacity. Audacity is a free audio editor, and it has a lot of capabilities that editors, like if you purchase somewhere, like I don't want to name names, but if you purchase somewhere, they have a basic audio editor. Well, Audacity has a lot of that, and it's free, and it's actually very easy to use. And so I always recommend Audacity, and because a lot of people have already heard of it, I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but I am just going to quickly go over it. But you can find it at audacity.sourceforge.net. And again, this PowerPoint will be online as well as the recording. So if you miss that, then we can take a look at it later. But I'm going to go ahead and pull up Audacity real quick. So I'm going to open my applications, and it's both Mac and PC. Okay, and now I have my audio editor here. Now the first thing I want to do is I actually want to go into my preferences. And so you can go to File, Preferences, or click on Audacity if you're on a Mac and go to Preferences. And the first thing I want to do is actually select the playback and the recording. The playback will actually is how I want to hear this when I play it back. If I have a headset on, then I may want to choose the headset. If I don't, if I just want to play it through the audio speakers, then I'll just choose that. Now the recording, if I have a microphone in, then I definitely want to make sure that I choose the microphone here. Like I have the Microsoft Live Chat here, so I want to make sure that happens. You can choose from stereo to mono if you wanted to. Normally stereo is typical, so you get both sides of the audio, both speakers, instead of just one. And so that's pretty much all that I have to do here. So from here I can go ahead and just hit OK. Now I'm ready to start recording. So all I have to do from here is just hit the record button up on top. If I hit the record, it's actually giving me an error. Okay, let's switch the input device here. It's giving me an error on the input device. And I think because I'm using it to record. So let's go ahead and just switch it to the normal microphone. Okay, so now I'm recording. I can see my levels here. I can see my my audio coming. Anytime I want to stop, I can just go ahead and hit the stop icon. And now I can hit the space bar to listen what I've just done. If I want to delete a certain part, I can select just by clicking and dragging on that part and then hitting the delete. Now it moves everything over. If I didn't want that to happen, if I want there to be a space, but instead of delete, I actually come up to this little button that says silence up on top. If I click on silence, it will now just make everything silent at that point, but it won't shift everything over. And so I can still, in a way, delete that, but still have that space if I still wanted the space there. I can also, at any point, let's say I want to record a conversation with myself, which I often do. I like talking to myself. But if I want to record a conversation with myself, then all I have to do is select the cursor wherever I want to start recording, and then just hit record. And then it automatically adjusts or adds a new track, and I can hear the other track playing. It doesn't come through GoToWebinar, but I can hear the other track playing, and then I can start editing those multi-level tracks, and I can have a lot of different tracks playing at once as well. Now, I can also bring in audio from other locations. So if, and a lot of times I have actually just grabbed audio. I don't think I have audio here, but I've just grabbed audio and dragged and dropped it inside of Audacity. And so like from like music or something like that, if I wanted a background, I can go ahead and drag that in here. And then just to adjust the sound on that, just by adjusting the gain right here on the left-hand side, I can just lower the music, so it's just background music instead of overpowering music as well. So Audacity is a great tool to do some simple editing, even a lot of different effects that you can choose from as well. If I select something, I can see that I can amplify it, I can fade in, fade out, I can change pitch, I can change speed. So if I want to make myself sound lower pitch, then I can go ahead and change that. And then once I'm done, I just go ahead and hit File, Export. So you don't have to take advantage of all the features. You can just do your basic editing here. If you wanted to get to more of how to do different features, then you would have to spend a little bit more time with it. But now I can say sample audio, and then I can select what format. So I got WAV, AIFF, MP3, and now all I have to do is hit save. So why pay for something that does that? And so it's a great, in my opinion, I've never had to buy an audio editor because of this reason, because Audacity is such a great tool and free as well. So for those of you who already knew that, I apologize for that. We'll go ahead and move on. But for those of you who have not or have never heard of Audacity, it's a great one to test out as well. The next audio editor that I want to go over is something called Aviary. Now, Aviary is a suite of tools, and we'll be going over a lot of their different tools here. But this one is called is an online audio editor. So you can actually go online from a browser, Firefox, Safari, Internet Explorer, and you can record your audio online. So this one is found at aviary.com. And if I go to aviary.com, let me go ahead and switch over there real quick. If you click on the Advanced Suite and go down to learn about Aviary tools, you'll see the list of different tools that we'll be going over. The first one is the audio editor. Now the audio editor, if I click on this launch button, it will launch the audio editor so I can start recording my audio, my narration, or whatever I want to record. So it just takes a second to load, but now I have this audio editor. If you're you also have a nice thing about that is you have these tracks down at the bottom. Now the tracks allow you to, or it gives you royalty-free loops and music stuff that you can actually put together a background music or a background track for your audio. So a lot of the times you may not be able to actually use music because of royalty fees and stuff like that. But if you have an author or an editor like this, you can actually use their little loops to put together your own background music without being musically talented like myself. And I am not musically talented at all. So these are very helpful for me to actually do. So the first thing I do is when I'm ready to record, let's just talk about audio for now, but when I'm ready to record, all I have to do is hit the record button. Now it also does, I have to allow the flash player settings. I can also select the drop down box. You'll notice that I have my Microsoft Live Chat, so it recognizes any microphones that I'm plugged into, and then I can just hit record. So just start talking, start narrating, reading my script, whatever I'm doing, and then all I have to do once I'm done is hit stop. Okay, once I can hit play to make sure that's the right, that sounds good, and then I can go ahead and click on import to project. Give it a name. Let's just call this intro. And you can do multiple different recordings and then put them all together at once. But now it slides over and I have this imported files and I have it set as intro. Now from here I just go ahead and drag it and drop it into my audio track. Now with my audio track I can then, if I want to cut off certain parts, I can just drag a corner of it. And so then I can move it as well. If I wanted to start a loop, as if I want this to keep looping over and over, I can just click on one of the bottom corners and that will loop over and over. So there's my audio track. Now I can come down to my different loops down here, and you can see I can go to quantum tracks is what it's called, grab some of their tracks. I have different topics, so I'm more hip-hop, as you can tell, so I'm going to go ahead and drag some of this hip-hop stuff. And there we go. So now if I hit play, again, because of GoToMeeting, you can't hear that, but it is playing here. Then I can also, or I can hit play, and then I can create my track. Once I'm done, I can then just click on File, actually Track, and then sorry, I'm for some reason missing that. Oh, create beat, or actually there is an export or a save as actually. So you save it and then you save it as an MP3 and then you download it to your desktop from there. Okay, so we don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to go ahead and continue on to other ones. Another tool is actually is from Aviary also, but if you wanted to create your own beats, there's something called Aviary Rock, which Aviary Rock will actually allow you to create your own beats, take guitars, take drums, and without any instruments, you can actually create your own beats. So let's go ahead and just explore that one a little bit. And then you can the nice thing about the Aviary suite is they all integrate with each other. So if you create something in the music creator, Rock, and then you can export it straight to the audio editor, and so you can then add on more audio as well. So once the music creator pops up, I then select a different genre if I wanted to start from a certain thing, and then I go ahead and click on Open. Now when I click on Open, it's going to create a couple different instruments for me. Gives me some instructions on how to do this. I save my project. I can export my project there as well. And I can see the different drums that I have available. So if you're familiar with drums like crash here, or bell, then all I have to do here is start selecting the beats. You can even click on this randomize all beats and it will randomly pick a beat for you. And then you can hit play. Then you can listen to see if that's the beat. If that's the beat you want, you can then bring it into the audio editor and start mixing together other beats as well. So this basically just allows you to create your own beats. And that's pretty much all that I want to go over on that one. So let's go ahead and continue. Let me just make sure there's no problems with the presentation. One question that I've seen pop up twice is, let's say if you have something proprietary information, will it be saved online for people to possibly find it? It's saved in your account. You create your own account. It's not saved where anyone can find it. If you have restrictions about using online tools, you may want to look into that. However, it is in your own account. You are the only one that has access to it. You are the only one that can download it. It's kind of like Gmail. If you're the only one, as long as nobody hacks into your account, you're the only one that has access to your email. Same thing with your audio files or your video files using Aviary or JayCut as well. Hopefully that answers your question. Okay, sorry, let me skip back to the PowerPoint. Okay, so let's talk about image editing. Now, image editing, there is one free tool called GIMP, which I found that a lot of people have heard of as well. And it's something very similar to Photoshop. So if you can't afford Photoshop, GIMP does a lot of nice editing capabilities as well. Now, there's still some nice things about Photoshop, and I still use Photoshop, but GIMP is a nice option as well. Now, GIMP is available both for Mac and PC. Let's go ahead and just pull this up real quick, and we'll just go over it just a little bit. Okay, so with GIMP, it actually works a little bit different. Instead of having like file menu, stuff like that up here, it actually has all your file menu stuff right inside of this little window here. Again, it's programmed a little bit different to work that way. You have a lot of your same editing tools that you have inside of Photoshop here. So you have paint brushes, gradients, different things. You can create layers, adjust your paintbrush just like you can with Photoshop. So I'm going to go ahead and open an image here. Now with the image open, I can select the transparency. I can also come into filters. I can adjust blur. Let's go ahead and just adjust a focus blur. Do a spherical blur and then hit OK. And then it applies that blur here. I can also add more layers if I wanted to, add stuff on top of that. So if I wanted to blur out my background, if I wanted to change it to black and white, if I also, a nice thing is you may need to adjust or to scale your image, make it smaller, make it larger. If you go to image, you can also click on scale image, and then you can adjust what the size, width, and height that you want. So if you're working with an authoring tool and you actually bring that inside of here, or you want to make sure that you adjust it before you bring it in, then you can go ahead and just adjust it here, and then click on scale, and then it will automatically adjust your image as well. Okay. That's because of the amount of time. I'm going to go ahead and move on, but that's pretty much GIMP. If you're familiar with Photoshop, then you can still use the same types of tools to create objects, create buttons, and different things like that. The other online tool that I wanted to talk about was through Aviary called Phoenix. Now Phoenix is their actual image editor, also very similar to Photoshop. So if I skip back over to Aviary here, I'm going to go ahead and click on this advanced image editor, also known as Phoenix. And then I'm going to load an image, just browse for it on my desktop here. Hit upload. Doesn't take long to upload. Now I have my image there. I also can add filters just like you can before. So the same thing I did with GIMP, I can also adjust the blur. I can also adjust different other types of filters, pen brush, metal glow as well. You can also adjust the layers. You can have different layers on top of that. Brightness and contrast. So if I wanted to adjust the brightness and contrast here. Desaturate will make it black and white if I wanted to do that. And then also image resize, I can adjust the size, height, and width as well. And there we go. Again, the nice thing, the benefit about Aviary is then I can bring it into other stuff and use the other tools, integrate them with the other tools as well. And so that's one thing that you can't do with something like GIMP, but you can do with an online editor like Aviary here. One thing that I'm also going to go over is something called Jing. Now Jing is a nice editor for image capturing, both video and image, actually taking an image as well. Now Jing is available by the people that brought you Camtasia, so it's a really quality tool, but it's a free tool. There is a paid version of it, but it is also a free tool. You can get this by going to techsmith.com/Jing. And let's go over that a little bit. Excuse me. So Jing will launch, and then it actually brings itself and puts itself inside of a corner. Sorry. So inside of the corner, now I can actually launch that at any time. If I hover over this little sun, I can then select it's kind of like Snagit, where I can drag out the area that I want to use or I want to record. So if I go ahead and drag out that area, I can then capture an image, I can capture a video. So if I wanted to do a simple screen recording, I can just click on capture a video, or I can click on capture an image. If I click on capture an image, I can then also do some markups with it. So have arrows pointing at different things, add some text, change the colors of that text if I wanted to. I can also call out certain areas if I wanted to highlight certain areas. And then I can either save it to my desktop, or I can actually save it through what's called screencast.com. If I save it through screencast.com, it actually gives me a link that I can send out to other people to share what I'm seeing as well, which is very useful if you're dealing with anyone that's through tech support or anything like that, or just to capture an image. Then you can bring that image inside of your your authoring tool. Aviary also has a free online image capture, but the bad thing about the online capture through Aviary is it only does capturing of the actual browser because it's a browser plugin. So I'm going to switch over to Firefox here, and you'll notice that once I have it installed here, I can select the drop-down box for capture region on page, capture visible portion on page, or capture entire page. If I capture region on page, then I can drag out an area that I want to capture. But if I hit save, it'll actually allow me to edit inside of Phoenix, inside of their online tool. I can still save it to my desktop, I can save it to the clipboard, but if I wanted to just upload it so I can have it already there for me to start editing inside of Aviary, I can do that as well. So that's a benefit about it as well. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is actually Flash animations. Now, actually, one other thing before I get into Flash animations, another tool that's not actually in my PowerPoint that I find very useful is, especially if I want to grab a video from YouTube, if my authoring tool does not have a way to actually embed YouTube videos. For example, right now, Rapid Intake has a mobile learning studio, mLearning Studio authoring tool, and the mLearning Studio authoring tool, at this point, it will eventually allow you to do YouTube videos, but at this point, it doesn't allow you to do YouTube videos. However, this tool called Download Helper, so if you go to Firefox add-ons, so let's go ahead and just go through that real quick. So if I go to Google Firefox add-ons, and then I search for something called Download Video Helper. There it is. I can see it right here. Then I can install that right into my Firefox window. Once it's in my Firefox window, you'll notice this little icon on the left-hand side. And now I can go ahead and find a video. So let's go ahead and, of course, find Monty Python. And because Monty Python, contrary to popular belief, it does not, it is very educational, and so it should always be used inside of your training. So there's my little spiel. And obviously I'm joking, but you can see this little, once you're on a YouTube video, you can see this little spinning thing up on top, and you can select the little arrow right next to it. Now, the nice thing with this tool is I can download different versions of this video. So I can see that I can see the different formats. Right now we have a 360p version, a 240p version, which is FLV, and then we also have just a regular, the full version .FLV. So if my authoring tool takes FLV, great. If this is also, or if it's for mobile though, and then I want the MPEG-4 version. So for mLearning Studio, for example, you can download the MPEG-4 version and then you can upload it inside of mLearning Studio, or you can put it inside of other mobile authoring tools as well. And the one thing that you want to worry about though is you want to make sure that you give credit or a link back to the YouTube video, just so you're not going over any rights on being able to use this video or something like that. Okay, so that is a useful plugin that I wanted to share. And again, for the lack of time, we're going to go ahead and continue. I'm not going to take a look at the questions yet. But a free Flash animation tool that I found is called Vectorian. Vectorian actually allows you to create Flash animations through this tool, this desktop tool. Now, it is only a PC version tool. And it is, let me pull that website back up again. It's if you go to vectorian.com, you can get to it. Now, a lot of the times, authoring tools will allow you to insert custom SWFs, or SWFs made in Flash or Swish or other stuff like that. And so this will actually produce those SWFs if you don't have those tools. And so the layout of it is very similar to Flash. So you have your stage area, you have your timeline, you have your colors, you have your shapes, you have your different things like that. You can go ahead and create shapes on the stage here. You can also take those shapes and you can click on the modify The menu layout is very similar as well. You can click on Modify, Convert to Symbol, convert it to a movie clip, or convert it to a button. Once it's a movie clip, you can now animate it in your timeline. So if I right-click here and click on Insert Keyframe, I can right-click and click on Create Motion Tween. So Motion Tween is basically just the way that I animate something. Now if I move it over on that last keyframe, it will then motion tween from the left-hand side to the right-hand side. And you can also add action script down at the bottom here. You can still give your movie clips names down at the properties panel over here. You can still add filters, gradients, drop shadows, blurs. So a lot of what you can do inside of Flash, you can still do here. Now it is only ActionScript 2. So keep that in mind. If your tool does ActionScript 2, then this will work out great for you. But if your tool only does ActionScript 3, then this may not be the best solution for you as well. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I click on File, and then I can click on Export Flash Movie. It'll export the SWF, and then I can take that SWF, import it inside of my authoring tool, and then use my animation inside of there as well. You can add multiple layers by clicking on this button up here. So you can have different layers, one with audio, one with other stuff, so you can have things timed up to audio if needed. Okay, so that is Vectorian. Now I'm going to skip this one, but I am going to mention it real quick. This one is called Inkscape. It's by the same people that do GIMP, but it actually allows you to do vector images. And the layout is very similar to GIMP, so if you want to create vector images, which when I do design, I actually prefer vector much more than Photoshop or something. So if you need a vector tool or vector image, you can get that one as well. Also, Aviary has its own vector tool as well, called Raven. Let me show you where that's at, going back to Aviary here. It's the top right hand side. It says Vector Editor. And so let's go ahead and take a look at that one real quick. So here I can adjust what size, width, and height that I want my image to be. And then I can start drawing out my different images. I can select this little drop down box. So if I wanted to create like a rounded corners of squares, something like that, I can go ahead and do that just like I can with something like Illustrator. And Vector just allows you to then manipulate it to have a bigger a bigger image to make it width or the size, height, and width a lot smaller without getting it pixelated or something like that. Okay, another tool. I want to get into the HTML5 tools, so I'm going to go ahead and skip this one as well. But one tool that I use a lot when I'm designing is something called Kuler. Now, Kuler is actually from Adobe. If you go to kuler.adobe.com, you can see the online. They have an online and they also have a desktop tool. I prefer the desktop tool so I can have it open anytime that I'm actually doing any type of designing. And you can find the desktop one found at adobe.com/products/Kuler. And I may be pronouncing that wrong, but that's basically where you can find that, download it, and then pick different color themes. The nice thing about that is you can type in something like sunset, and if you type in sunset, it'll pull up with different variations of sunset, different color schemes, and you can create your own color schemes as well. Now this is what I really want to get into is HTML5 capability. There's two HTML5 tools that I really like. One is free for now, and that's why I'm going over it, called Adobe Edge. And Adobe Edge is found at, right now, labs.adobe.com/technology/edge. And it's a great HTML5 animation editor. The other one is called, it's not free, but it's a Mac version only, and it's about $29. So it's basically close to, compared to an authoring tool, it's basically close to free. And so, this one is found at tumultco.com/hype, or through the Mac App Store if you're a Mac user. So I wanted to show you just briefly both of these, and so you can go ahead and start using it. Now Adobe Edge right now is kind of in a preview mode, and that's why it's free, but you can still produce content through it and for the time that it's actually free. So Adobe Edge is, the nice thing about it is it's very similar to other Adobe tools that you may already be familiar with as far as the layout and everything. You can go ahead and click on Create New, and then it has a stage here that you can then adjust the width and the height of that stage, Again, this is all HTML. And we have down here at the bottom, we have our timeline. Now you're creating Flash or HTML5 animations. And so from here, I can create objects, like I can create a rectangle, or I can create a rounded rectangle, or I can insert some text. So let's go ahead and insert some text here. And it is a WYSIWYG environment, so I'm creating HTML5 content through a WYSIWYG environment. I can then insert other stuff, so let's go ahead and click on Import, File, Import, and let's bring in an image here. Okay, I'm going to resize this image. One thing I found is when I resize it, you see that it doesn't really resize. It cuts off like that. In order to resize, you actually come over with it selected here. You come over to the size property here, and all you have to do, actually that's not it, the transform, the scale down at the bottom. Sorry, so the scale, and then I can adjust the width and the height just by dragging the scale there. Okay, so there's my guy. Down, let's make him a little bit smaller. Okay, so let's say I want this guy to start out off the stage. I want the text to start out off the stage as well. Well, I have down at the bottom of my timeline, this little red dot is called Auto Keyframe Properties. It's going to automatically keyframe things, which is add, where I want it to go automatically in the timeline for me. I can turn that off if I want to have more control over that, but if I want to make it a little easier, then I can do this by just dragging my timeline where I want it to come in, and then just go ahead and moving my guy over onto the stage. And now it automatically creates a time or an animation going from one side to the other side for me. If I select that animation, the nice thing about this is you can actually create easing. Easing makes it like bounce or makes it to come in or different effects like that. So let's go ahead and create ease in elastic. Let's select that. Well, just like Flash, you hit Control Enter to preview it. You can do that inside of Edge as well. Select the stage area, hit Control Enter, and then it will actually preview. And so I can see how that works. Now, I don't want ease in, I actually want ease out. Okay, hit Control Enter. There we go. So it kind of bounces as it comes in. Now you notice that even though this text is off stage, it's still visible. Well, if I come back into and select anywhere in my stage area, I see the overflow right now is set to visible. If I select the drop down box, I can set it to scroll, or I can set it to hidden. If I set it to hidden, now I don't see my text off the side or anything off the stage. I don't see that. So the nice thing about this is you can then take, using something like Phone Gap, you can then take your training and whatever you have, and you can start, you can convert it to an actual installable application. Okay, so that is Edge, and the one downfall, and because it's HTML5, it doesn't allow you to do this over. You can't have audio timed up to it or anything like that. But you can actually, with the object selected, you can come over to this little scripts icon right next to your object. And if you select that, you can add other stuff like on mouse over, mouse down, touch start, touch move, touch end. You can have a lot of different things that you can select there. So if I click on mouse down, you can add a stop command, you can add a play command, you can play it in reverse, you can open up a certain URL. So it walks you through that, which is JavaScript, but it walks you through if you don't know JavaScript, and it gives you some of those commands, or you can insert your own JavaScript. The next online editor, or sorry, the HTML5 editor that I want to talk about is Hype. Now I love Hype because it gives you some of the same controls that Adobe Edge does. It's a little bit more of a Mac interface if you're familiar with more of Mac stuff, and you can do a lot of different scenes as well, so you can adjust through different scenes and do reflection effects, which you can't do in Edge from what I found so far. But if I go ahead and I select a box, for example, if I come over here to my properties, I can adjust the size. I also have some default sizes like the iPhone full portrait, the iPad full portrait mode as well. I can come over to my different timelines and adjust my timelines. I can come over to my content overflow, just like we showed in Edge. You have the hidden, you have the scroll bars as well. If I select my object, I can also add a reflection down at the bottom, so you can see that quickly it adds that reflection there. I can adjust where the reflection starts if needed. I can adjust the border right here. I can adjust my text properties. All of that I can do just like I can inside of Edge. And then I can bring in other objects. I can insert keyframes. So if I wanted to just hit the record button, and then I can add an animation to that as well, and then just hit preview, and then it will animate automatically there. Okay, we are out of time, but I just wanted to introduce you to those different tools. Again, this was just a brief introduction. There's still a lot more that you can learn with these different tools. Some of the equipment that I've found, let me just quickly go over this. For video and image capture, one thing that I have is a Canon T2i. There's also a Canon 3i or T3i. I haven't played around with, but this does full 1080p HD video, and you can actually record quality, really quality video for that, and it's under $1,000 for to get an HD camera for under $1,000. That also does, I believe it's 16 megapixel images. That's a great combination of the two. Other stuff, you can get shotgun mics with it. You can get lighting. You can get with lighting. There's a website called imagewest.tv. They're not the best to ship through, but their equipment, once it gets to you, is it's very cheap, and it's as long as it's taken care of, then it can be last you for a little bit as well. Okay. Well, that's all I have. Thank you, everyone. If you want to stick around, I'll go through some of these questions. If you want to stick around, feel free. If you don't, we'll go ahead and send you out the recording for this and the PowerPoint for this as well. Again, hopefully I was able to introduce you to the tools, and so then you can start playing around with them, and hopefully you find them useful. So thank you, everyone. Okay, some of the questions that we have, let me just go through some of these. Captures a video still or actual video. If you're talking about Jing, it does it both, actually. If you have Snagit already, what is the benefit of Jing versus Snagit? The benefit to Jing is it also does screen recordings, and Snagit, from what I know of, doesn't do that. You have to have Camtasia or Jing. Did you say there was a start at the presentation that these tools are not SCORM compliant? Yes, they are not SCORM compliant. So the idea of these tools is to help you create the media that will then put it inside of a tool like Rapid Intake Unison or Rapid Intake Proform, and then publish all the different media into a SCORM compliant course, or Captivate or Articulate or different things like that. Do you know of a Flash converter tool? If you're talking about converting from Flash to something else, I don't actually. One question is, so you say Inkscape is a vector tool. Would this allow me to open and work with Adobe Illustrator files? No, it would not, but it actually allows you to, if you save an Illustrator file as EPS, then it would allow you to open up EPS files. Is Edge a download or a web-based tool? Edge is actually a download tool. So you download it on your desktop to both Mac and PC. Can you add interactivity to the HTML5 tools? Yes, you can add mouse buttons, you can add mouse taps, taps specifically, drag and drop stuff. So there's a lot of different things that you can do for that. Is Hype or is Adobe Edge accessible? Follow code web accessibility. I don't know, actually. That's something that it's still in its kind of preview mode. So, is Hype for Mac only? Yes, it is. One question is, I just bought a MacBook Pro. Where's the App Store that you mentioned? If you just bought the Mac Pro, if you have a Lion, the App Store is down at the bottom here, this little blue icon. And if you select that icon, it will pull up just like if you have an iPhone or iPad, the App Store there. But this is for like actual desktop tools. If you type in Hype, then it will actually pull up right here, and then you can install hype right there. Is there a way to rotate the video? I ended up with one of them sideways. There might be a way. I haven't tried this in JayCut, but there might be a way inside of JayCut. I know you can do that with like Final Cut or Adobe Premiere or anything like that. What was the product you reviewed after Edge that allowed CSS3 reflections? That's Hype, what we're seeing here. It's a Mac version only, and it's inside of Hype. You just basically go into the properties. Actually, no, sorry, going back here. You go into Inspector, and then you click on this little image icon up on the top, and then you just drag up the reflection there. They may come out with a Windows version, I'm not sure. Do you have a good recommendation on where you can buy a Mac for a decent price? I don't, actually. I'm a big Mac fan, but I'm not sure. Mainly used ones you can buy. There's other places like macmall.com that have reduced prices. Not really reduced prices, but sometimes they have great deals as well. So that's probably what I would recommend. What was the name of the Firefox add-on? Well, I went over two. I went over Download Helper, and I went over Aviary's screen capture as well. I think you mentioned this, but can you capture YouTube videos if you cite the source? Citing the source is more for your protection, just to make sure it's you don't get it run into anything like that. But the download helper will allow you to download YouTube videos as FLVs or MPEG-4s. All right, my battery is almost done with my my MacBook Pro here, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. We are a little past time, and I think I got through some of the questions. So thank you, everyone. And if you're interested in more of this, or you're interested in our rapid intake tools, feel free to contact our rapid intake, or you can go to rapidintake.com and chat with us, and we're more than happy to talk to you about anything. So thank you, everyone. Have a great day.